All right, welcome to another episode of the Ask Swenk Show. On today's episode, we are going to talk about how do you bonus your creatives? What do you do when your sales prospect is not following your process and asking you to do work that you probably should be charging for? And what is the best sales model in order to scale and grow your agency?
I'm Jason Swenk, and I'm answering your questions. And this is Ask Swenk.
All right, so let's get into the first question. So Meny asked the first question. He says, how can we build an incentive program for our creative team members, and what would that look like? Well, Meny, I'm glad you asked this because, bonusing creatives took us a little bit to figure out because, it's easy to bonus the executives, right? And it's pretty easy to bonus the salespeople because they're getting paid on commission. On the creatives, it was a little bit more challenging. Let's say we had a project that was 100 hours. The project was probably 300 hours, but let's say we had 100 hours budgeted toward creative. So what we would tell our designer, and I'll go through a designer and also an art director because they're part of the creative team, right? And so what we would do on the designer and say, look, we're budgeting out 100 hours on creative for you to actually do this particular project. If you come under that, so let's say you do 80 hours and everything looks great and you're only spending 80 hours, we're going to bonus you on the profit. So basically what we're going to do is, you could do it a couple different ways. You could say, all right, that was a profit of $2,000 for the company that you finished faster. So you're going to get a $1,000 bonus at the end of the quarter. And what we're going to do is we're going to take all your projects from that quarter and calculate them up. So let's say he only did 2 projects or he or she did 2 projects. One, he made the company $2,000. The other one, he lost the company $2,000. It's a wash, no bonus. The other situation that could happen is maybe the company doesn't hit their 90-day goals for the quarter. If that happened, we always communicated that to our employees. If that did happen, it was a wash. No one got a bonus because we wanted to build a team atmosphere. If the company's not hitting their goals, no one else should get a bonus because everybody contributes to that. And then what you'll find too is as you're doing this, everybody will try to pick everybody up, or they'll try to weed out the weak. And you don't want a weak player. You don't want those C players, right? You want to get rid of them. C players and below, get rid of them. B players, you can always get them to an A player. And then on maybe like a manager of the creative team, we would come up with, we would communicate the company 90-day goals. What goals can you come up with that are measurable, that contribute to this and help your team? Efficiencies, it could be employee retention, employee happiness, client happiness, all that kind of stuff. As long as you measure it and you come up with some kind of metric so it's not subjective. So that's how we measured and bonused our creative team. And let's say they're not hitting their bonus constantly. As we're doing our quarterly coaching calls, and I've had episodes on this before, what you want to do is find out why aren't they hitting their bonus? And how can us as a company and managers help them out? And if we're helping them out as much as we can and they're not, then they're probably not right for the agency and we need to make a change. So next question. Jared asks, he says, how do you address prospects who want to control the sales process? We're talking to someone right now that's putting us through their selection process with very little regard to our process and getting the information we need in order to put together the proposal. Normally I would go through their motions, but some of the questions they're asking are very tactical with almost crossing over the lines of working for the free zone. So Jared, couple things. If they're not following your process in the sales process, they're not going to follow your client process. And that may be like an indicator, a red flag going, get away, don't do it, just run away. And I know it's hard to say no, but like I told you, I always tell you guys, there's no such thing as a bad agency client. There's only a bad prospect or a bad process. And in this situation, this looks like a really bad prospect. And so what we would do when, and especially if you don't have the right information, you're just going to be wasting your time. You're going to be doing all this free work. So a couple things to see if you can kind of save it is say, look, I respect the process that you're going through. We have a process that really determines how we can, help you out. And we need to know these things. And if we can't get these things from you, we're not going to accurately be able to give you a proposal. And if you're wanting us to do X, Y, and Z, I certainly understand. And I have an option for you. If you can't do this, why don't we meet for a half a day? And we'll basically do a discovery meeting with you and help you lay out all the strategies, because there's probably a lot of things that you don't know. And we'll be happy to lay that out and give you an action plan that you can go use for all the other agencies in your selection process. And we charge $2,000 for this. And that's a really good foot in the door. And if they don't go for it and they say, no, you got to follow our process, say, perfect. We may not be the best agency for you right now. If anything ever changes, reach out to us and we're happy to help and move the heck on. Okay? Just remember, if they're putting you through the ringers now, wait until they're paying you. They're not even paying you now and they think they own you. When they pay you, you're going to be their slave. So just keep that in mind. All right, the next question, Jack asked, selling has always come natural to me. I know some agencies have CEOs that do all the sales, but I don't think that's scalable as having account managers who can sell. What's the best business model for your sales team? Is it the hunter-farmer model? Is it the account manager does both model? Is it the CEO does all the sales and hand it off to the account manager model? So, Jack, out of the three models that you described, it's kind of only just really two models. And so let me explain. If the CEO is doing all the sales, which is in most cases in the agencies as you're growing, that's pretty much what happens, right? And then it hands off to the account team and they actually go do it. Or hopefully you get to hand it off, right? Some of the CEOs actually manage the projects, which if you're doing that and you're listening, stop doing that. If you can't see me, I'm visually slapping you across the face to get rid of the project manager and hire a project manager. But if you hand off, the client's going to feel like, dude, it was kind of like the bait and switch. I had the top dog sell me and now he's not even on the project. So I'll talk about how you can solve that in a moment. The other option is if you have the account manager, selling the deal in your case, and then working the deal afterwards, like managing the project, that could run into kind of the ups and downs. Kind of like probably in the very beginning, Jack, of how you went through selling. Like you would sell and you wouldn't have anything to deliver, so you'd sell a bunch and then you get a bunch and then you concentrate on delivery and then your sales go down and it's constantly up and down, up and down, up and down. Kind of a bad business model as well. And so what we did is, and we created a model where a lot of business was coming to us. And then there was a couple key accounts that we wanted to go after that we could tell our salesperson to go attack, okay? Because you don't always just want one strategy coming to you, you want multiple strategies. What we did is the executive or the sales executive, and he was a different breed. So the two ones that worked really, really well for us were they understood the strategy. They may have been project managers in the past, or they really understood the strategy and could actually implement the strategy themselves. So if you could find an account manager or a project manager that really is hungry with money and loves people and that kind of stuff, those always made the best salespeople for us, because they could go to that client and they could actually provide actionable advice and help them rather than just sell them. So what we would do is as the leads come in or they would find those opportunities, they would qualify them and basically start walking them down a path of going, all right, are they qualified? Do their needs match up? Their budget match up? Or are we talking to the authority, the time, all that matches? And then they would start bringing in certain team members. And so this is kind of the key, okay? You have to start bringing in the right team at the right time rather than just bringing in the whole team as soon as you sell the deal, because then this is the first time that they're seeing it. And this was a big step for us. And this actually separated us from a lot of other agencies, because the CEO and maybe the salesperson would sell the deal and then they would introduce the project team. A lot of times when we would get to a certain, and I know what you guys are saying, you're like, holy cow, I got to bring in my whole team, stop what everybody's doing. I wouldn't bring in all the designers and that, but I would bring in like the project manager. I would bring in, and the salesperson would act as the account manager. So, and that's the key too. I don't know your structure. Maybe your account manager was also managing the project. So we would have a project manager, we would have an account manager, and then we obviously have the creative team. And so the account manager kind of led the strategy. And so as they're qualifying, they would bring certain people in. So they bring the project manager in and maybe the art director if it was a creative project, since we're on the creative theme for this episode. So they would get to know everybody. So it wasn't kind of like a completely kind of cold turkey when we actually started the project. So it made that transition easy. And then we also didn't rely on the project manager to sell the new deal. So the account manager would always be kind of best friends with the project manager. And always we would have weekly meetings with them in order to figure out where's the project at, what's any opportunities. And we would never task the project manager with selling more. Because think about the psychology of a project manager. Their whole job is to get stuff done. They don't want to create new stuff. So they're going to be the worst. They're going to be the worst salespeople. So that's why you would have an account manager work with the project manager. And then also how they used me is they would bring me toward the end as kind of the heavyweight. If you're at a smaller model, I know Jack, you also asked, is the agency sellable if the CEO is doing all the selling? Yes, it is. Anybody buying you, they're just going to look at your strengths, and you may stay on with them and they may still want you acting as that same role. So it just depends on who's buying you and that kind of stuff. All right. Did I answer your questions on that and give you the good business model? So really the business model would be, having an account manager, as the sales executive, right? And he's always checking in, knowing that strategy. He could be that challenger sales where, he would, if the prospect's wrong, he would say, no, I think you could do it a better way, right? Rather than just taking orders and saying, looking around the room and going, oh, you play baseball, and just trying to relate to them. Bad salesperson that way, okay? You want someone that can actually come in with that strategy and just attack it and provide them value. And then bring the right team in at the right time rather than just cold turkey when you win the deal. And if you do that, that's a scalable model. And that's the model that worked for us, and just bring people in as needed in order to provide that expert advice. I want you to join the conversation. Make sure you comment and subscribe. Thanks for giving me your most valuable asset, your time.